my dad was in prison, will I still make a good probation officer? So this is a question that somebody asked me on social media, Instagram or TikTok. It's called How to Be a Probation Officer. Go follow me over there if you're not already. And I want to deep dive into this because normally if one person has a question, most of you are thinking this anyway. So my name is Sarah Edwards. I worked as a probation officer and I share videos for you guys. You can just get a real insight into the job. Maybe you've watched a few of these videos by now and you really want to know how to actually get the job. One of the key things I would say about how to get in the job is doing your research, and this is why I share my videos, because this is your research, you know. This is you getting a real life insight into what the job entails, the complexities of the job, without you having to read all of that long boring information on the websites. Okay, so answering this person's question. So your question is actually quite close to my personal experience. My dad did go to prison, and yes, I became a probation officer. Did that influence my career choice? It probably did, because I always wanted a career where I wanted something meaningful and was giving back. And I guess our experiences of what we grow up with and around are going to influence us as adults. So first thing I would say, you asked in that question, would I make a good PO? Be careful to question your ability just because of how you got brought up. Obviously without talking to you, seeing you, I don't know what you're saying there with will I make a good PO. Are you maybe questioning whether that will make you not a good PO, or are you unsure that actually yes, that will contribute to you being a good PO? So the reasons I think it does help, or it did help me, is you've really got that sense of perspective. You know firsthand what it's like for a person to be in prison. You know firsthand what it's like to be on the receiving end of the system. You know what you've missed out on. You know what that family member has missed out on. So having that first-hand experience is like invaluable, and I feel like we need more people with real first-hand experience, whether you've been to prison yourself or you've got a close family member. Second thing I would say is, yeah, it gives you that perspective. It also gives you that empathy. You know, the amount of times I've worked with someone, I haven't necessarily told them about my personal experience, but I've really been able to see, yeah, I can totally understand why you done what you did, or I can totally understand with how you're responding right now. So it gives you that next level of empathy. But I feel like you don't have to have gone through that experience to have the empathy. We can all draw on things from our life to be able to connect with someone who's on probation or who's been in prison. Next thing I would say is more about the emotional impact. Obviously these jobs that we're going into, probation officer, or even if you're watching this and you want to go into some kind of field in psychology or forensic criminology, whether you like it or not, you spend majority of your time at work. So majority of your time you're going to be emotionally bombarded with all these people's lives, stories, their problems, their challenges. So think about yourself as a human being with all your own life challenges, negative experiences, all your stuff going on in your life now, all your stuff that went on in your life in your childhood. Then you've got all of someone else's stuff, and then all of someone else's, and all of someone else's. That's the only way I can do it. It's like you're getting rained on with everybody's stuff. So if you don't have a way of dealing with your own stuff, their own stuff is going to impact you much more like a tornado. So learn not even for those of you going into this job, just anyway, but especially if you want to be a probation officer, learn how to deal with your staff so that when their stuff downpours onto you, it's more like a shower that you can brush off than a massive torrential tornado that just stays with you. How do you do that? I've just learnt this. You don't get trained this, by the way, only in my coaching programs if you join me. I've just learnt this through personal experience of how I deal and go through life. So how can you deal with this if you are going in to be a probation officer, if you've had personal experience of someone being in prison, or just how do you deal with it anyway? Self-reflection, number one. I noticed that when I was training to be a probation officer, this is key. We do a lot of reflective practice where as well as being assessed with written work, you have like we call professional discussions. So you reflect on, okay, why did you do that then, Sarah? Or why did you make that decision? Why did you think that was important? What did you think about his response? You have those regular discussions. Whereas what I find is once you're qualified, that aspect of the job is missing, and I feel like that aspect needs to come back. So self-reflection, really start to think, okay, what is it about, maybe even if it's a positive thing, what is it about that person that's making you really feel connected to them, or making you really want to help them? Because again, you don't want to overly treat some person really, like you want to be really neutral. Like you don't want to go over and beyond just for one person just because you really like them or they remind you of your dad. You want to make sure you're delivering an equal service to everyone. Likewise, you don't want to not give that person a good service because there's something about them that you just don't like and that you absolutely hate. So you have to reflect, okay, what is it that that person is triggering in me, whether that trigger is a positive feeling or negative feeling. You then want to look at, okay, how can I like come to that realization? Okay, by like journaling, write it down. Give yourself that space, and it is going to be busy in the job, so it may be something you have to do just in your own time. So have that space for self-reflection. And actually all of this that I'm talking about, it is in my book, Success on Probation, Step-by-Step System to Reform Your Life and Release Yourself from Your Mental Jail. So after this video, go and buy it, it's on Amazon. So another way is they do offer counselling as a probation, so they have an employee assistance program where you can get talking therapy, talking counselling. You don't have to be talking about the job or your cases, just talk about anything, but it's so that you've got that outlet to have your problems heard by someone, to have your life validated by someone, because we are always giving it to everybody else. You need an outlet where you can be that person that's listened to as well. I would say number 3, which is a hard one, I would say, don't attach the feeling of shame and your ability to do the job because of your personal experiences. They look at the civil service, which is who's going to be your employer, HMPPS, and it seems when you look at it very stern, very official, very this, very that. This is my personal opinion. And it can make you feel less of a person, if that makes sense, or maybe that you feel not worthy, especially if you add the layer of, well, I'm working for a government that locks people away, such as my dad, now I'm on the other side. So try not to attach any shame to your past, to your family, to what you are doing now. And if you want help with that, That is stuff that I cover in my coaching program, so I'm not going to go too much into depth now, but it just gives you an overview of are you good enough, or how to manage these thoughts and questions about whether you can do the job if a family member has been in prison. One thing I would say is I've had a lot of people come to me to say they've passed the vetting. So the vetting is, once you get the job, you need to be like vetted. It's quite high secure vetting that goes through the police and the probation service, because it's more than a CRB check. It goes a bit deeper, and just because of the nature of the job, if you currently know a family member, partner, ex-partner who's in prison or on probation, people have told me that they have not got the job because of that. So just be aware of that if people are currently. Obviously I have nothing to do with those decisions. I'm not in any way connected, but it's just so that you can be aware. So I hope that you enjoyed this kind of chit chat answering video. If you've got any other questions, do put them below, because you may be thinking about, other people are probably thinking it too. And make sure you check out my resources and programs of how I can help, including my book, and I'll see you next time.